Good evening, dobry вечір, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Threads That Connect fashion show. We have a special guest we'd like to introduce before we do anything else, and that is the Consul General for Ukraine, His Excellency Олександр Данилейко. Please welcome him. Where are you? Дякую. Дякую, що ви з нами. We're going to start with a musical act to get us in the mood. Ukrainian Canadian mezzo-soprano Stefania Romanuk has performed internationally in both classical and Ukrainian styles, in operas and musicals, and in concert with orchestra. The grand prize winner of the first International Festival of Ukrainian Retro Music, she has shared the stage with singers including Jamala, Oksana Mucha, and Ilaria, and has served as the opening act for the best-selling Ukrainian recording artist of all time, Ruslana. To set the mood for our traditional fashions, Stefania is joined by guitarist Mitch Zorich and bassist Stephen Shepard to perform the boisterous Ukrainian folk song Гуляй, гуляночка. Ladies and gentlemen, Stefania Romanuk.
Доброго вечора всім. Good evening, everyone.
Сиджу та збираю вишні, на горбочку сиджу та збираю вишні. Якби мені чоловіка, так під мої мислі, якби мені чоловіка, так під мої мислі, щоб горілки не пив, тютюну не нюхав, щоб горілки не пив, тютюну не нюхав, чужих жінок не любив, одну мене слухав, чужих жінок не любив, одну мене слухав. Гуляй, гуляночка, яка мати, така й дочка, яка мати, вишукана, така й дочку згодувана. Ой, гуляла молодиця, поки мала свого гориця, а як риця поховала, та й гуляти перестала. Гуляй, гуля ще, що хороше, то наше, що погане, то не нам, тільки нашим ворогам. А щоб наші вороги показили стоноги, ох, не дав мені Бог, кого я бажала, ох, не дав мені Бог, кого я бажала, а за той перебір, що перебирала, а за той перебір, що перепитала. Гуляй, гуляночка, яка мати, така й дочка, яка мати, вишукана, така й дочку згодувана. Ой, гуляла молодиця, поки мала свого гриця, а як гриця поховала, ой, гуляти перестала. Гуляй, гуля ще, що хороше, то наше, що погане, то не нам, тільки нашим ворогам. А щоб наші вороги показили стоноги, а за той перебір та за теє лихо, а за той перебір та за теє лихо. Коли шу тормошу, а він лежить тихо, коли шу тормошу, а він лежить тихо. Ой, устань, старий дідо, поворушуй кості, ой, устань, старий дідо, поворушуй кості. Не нуди, не губи моєї молодості, не нуди, не губи моєї молодості. Гуляй, гуляночка, яка мати, така й дочка, яка мати, вишукана, така й дочку згодувана. Ой, гуляла молодиця, поки мала свого гриця, а як гриця поховала, та й гуляти перестала. Гуляй, гуля ще, що хороше, то наше, що погане, то не нам, тільки нашим ворогам. А щоб наші вороги показили стоноги.
Thank you so much, Stefania. Wasn't that beautiful? Love it.
Definitely a beautiful way to start the night. Good evening and welcome to the Threads That Connect fashion show. This eagerly anticipated event has been in the planning stages for a while. Apparently a pandemic got in the way, but we are so glad to see all of you here tonight. It is going to be a night of fashion. We are in a beautiful room, but the fashion will overshine it because there's some beautiful things preparing to come down the runway. My name is Stacey Brotzel. You may have seen me on TV or listened to me on the radio most recently. I don't speak Ukrainian. I'm sorry. Married to a Polish guy.
But you do, though. We were practicing in the back, and I wasn't correcting you at all.
Yes.
You bang on.
I've been practicing for a week, so bear with me. I am so glad to be one of your MCs tonight.
Awesome, Stacey, and I am Roman Soltakevich, and Stacey and I are so delighted to be your MCs and explore the threads that connect us to our roots, from the practicality of Ukrainian historical garments to the pride in our heritage shown in Ukrainian Canadian retro clothing to the artistic beauty of contemporary global fashion. And we're starting the night by taking a look into the past as traditional clothing from across Ukraine hits the runway. Designed with practicality in mind, considering climate, lifestyle, and longevity, these pieces display a diversity of clothing styles from various regions of Ukraine, and their utilitarianism is complemented with their beautiful touches of color and embroidery. Each piece has a story to tell and a memory inside.
From the words of poet Antonina Korin, "My soul is a piece of canvas, embroidered with poems, laced with failures. It took me days and nights to embroider my destiny, which I leave as a remembrance for my family."
Вишита віршами, змержена невдачами, моя душа, як клаптичок тканини. Я вишивала долю свою ночами, щоб залишити пам'ять для родини. All pieces from the historical section are from the private collection of Lyudmila Shefel, showcasing the different stylings from across the country. Lyudmila was born and raised in Kharkiv, and she immigrated to Canada over 20 years ago and discovered her love of the vibrant colors, variety of symbols, and ornamentation of Ukrainian embroidered blouses and authentic Ukrainian traditional clothing. Lyudmila followed her newfound passion by researching and collecting pieces of traditional Ukrainian clothing. Currently, her private collection consists of more than 100 costumes from a variety of different regions of Ukraine.
All right, we have our first model, so let's get started. Our first outfit of the evening is a festive costume from the Hutzel area of Rukavina. Modeled tonight by Mayrenia, pay close attention to the embroidery on the sleeves, with the detail on the arms showing that this is a holiday shirt. Next is Lilia, showing the costume of Zakarpattia in the Urshava region. Rather than a skirt, women's shirts were made long and tied with an embroidered apron.
We have Anna Maria modeling the pleated skirt worn for holidays in the village of Rozhnyatiev, Boyko region. women paired these beautiful skirts with embroidered shirts to complete the look. Oksana has stepped onto the runway in this fabulously colorful costume from Lviv in western Ukraine. Lviv women set themselves apart from their neighbors with their bright colors and their unique stitching, which you can see on every part of this costume. Pay close attention to her apron and all of the colors that are on it. This lovely floral costume is from Nadvirna, Ivano-Frankivsk region. It's worn by Zoya, and her vest showcases an entire rainbow of flowers to stand out against the dark skirt.
Walking the stage now is Valentina, showcasing the folk clothing of Pokutia, Ivano-Frankivsk region. Her skirt is made from a panel wrapped around and held on by two poyas, with belts clinched around her waist. And Zela is walking out in a stunning wedding costume from the Kodyma area, Odessa region. Make note of the headpiece, just stunning. The wreath is richly decorated with ribbons, colored paper, small glass beads, and foil flowers.
Is modeling a costume from Podillia, which was known for the variety in its embroidery, particularly the Nizinka flat stitch shown off on her Vyshyvanka. This next costume is made from factory fabric, except for the hand-woven linen shirt embroidered with the technique of a cross, floral ornaments, and a woven apron. It's modeled by Svitlana, and this festive women's clothing is from the Dubno region of Rivne, from the beginning of the 20th century. Walking the runway now is Lilia in festive clothes from the Sarny region in Rivne of the 19th, beginning of 20th century. Make a note of her headpiece. This unique kerchief is known as a krzyżata chustka, and each of its four corners is embroidered with different patterns. A woman could wear her single kerchief to 4 festivals and no one would know, Stacy. Ukrainians are smart.
Is wearing a unique Serpankovi costume of Dobrovechi village of the Rivne region of Polisia of the late 19th and early 20th century. The costume is made from ultra-thin linen layers, and her headpiece, known as permitka, has a unique style based on how it was wrapped. Embroidered sleeves of this next costume look pretty familiar. Zoya is wearing the festive clothing of the Chmelnytsky region of southeast Volyn from the beginning of the 20th century. The classic red and black floral pattern is complemented by the silk apron embroidered with colorful flowers. The satin kerchief is also embroidered with flowers.
This costume is from Polisia, from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It's worn this evening by Oksana. This costume sets itself apart with the abundance of hand-woven elements. Check out the woven stripes on the sleeves, skirt, apron, and kraika. This costume is completed with the headpiece Namitka. Anna is up next, wearing this late 19th century women's costume of Lubashiv in Volyn. This costume is made entirely by home-woven linen, and it's decorated with horizontal stripes. The belt is woven from woolen threads and decorated with longitudinal stripes.
Outfit has a really neat story. Coming onto the stage is Natalia wearing a super unique local ceremonial costume of the Volyn region called the Matchmaker. Worn only at weddings, the Matchmaker had a special role. She was the watchful eye over the whole process. See how her dress is decorated with eyes. They're watching you along the front and the sleeves. The headpiece, the kabalka, is decorated with rooster feathers. The next costume was worn in the 30s in Baraniv of the Zitomir region. Worn today by Bodana, the shirt and apron are embroidered with colorful large flowers using the galad technique. The satin skirt is ruched. Check out the bright skirt of our next costume. Meria is showing off the festive clothing of Bordianka, area of the Kyiv region of the beginning of the 20th century. It's made of factory-made fabric and lace, alongside the hand-stitched embroidery on this homemade linen shirt in that classic red and black thread. The pink skirt was very popular in this area.
Lilia is wearing the beautiful costume of Pereyaslav Khmelnytsky in Kyiv region from the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th. The corset, vest, and skirt are made from jacquard, and ornament called harbuzovy tzvit, pumpkin blossom, and decorated with black velvet. The shirt is homemade with a geometrical ornament. To complete the look, the small ochipok and kerchief make up the headpiece. Is Victoria, wearing the festive clothing of Dnipro in the Cherkasy region from the late 19th, early 20th centuries. Check out the embroidery on her sleeves. Don't miss that white on white near her shoulders, and the variety of techniques on her sleeves, created with homemade and factory threads. The corset is sewn factory fabric and assembled into small longitudinal folds, and the headpiece is a colorfully woven kerchief. The stage now is Natalia, wearing the costume of Balaklia village in the Kharkiv region, again of the late 19th, early 20th centuries. Her vest is what is known as a Cherkas vest, and according to locals, this name came from the ancient fabric which it was sewn on, called Circassian.
costume from Lubny in the Poltava region from the early 20th century that showcases some of the brocade patterns on her sleeve using cross-stitch and floral ornaments with cotton threads. The corset and skirt are made from factory fabric, and a small ochipok made from the expensive damask brocade fabric. Could afford such an elaborate apron seen on Natalia. In the Mir-Horod area of the Poltava region at the end of the 19th and early 20th century, women would weave golden and brocade aprons and ochipoks from cotton, wool, and metallic threads on special jacquard looms. Also, pay attention to her colorful placata. Olena is wearing festive clothing from the Genkiv area, Poltava region of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The geometric embroidery on her sleeves was done with homemade threads, using oak bark as dye to create this rich brown. And don't miss her beautiful apron and ochipok. They're decorated with jacquard ornaments.
We're ending the historical section of our fashion show with a bridal costume from the Hadyach area of Poltava region, seen here on Solomia. This blue-on-white sorochka would be made using dye from the indigo plant. And indigo wasn't grown in Ukraine, so it was very expensive and rare. The merchants of Hadyach imported and sold indigo at its markets, allowing women to create shirts that were unique to Ukraine due to the color. And the amount of embroidery on the shirt would show the wealth of her family. She's also wearing a krylata plachta, giving her body more shape, and a unique belt tied on the back. Each village may only have a few damask aprons due to their expense, and brides would borrow them from their own wedding. Now pay attention to her beautiful headpiece. Absolutely stunning. The vinok is the headpiece of an unmarried woman, richly decorated with ribbons, paper and wax flowers, beads, and peacock feathers. Like today, a woman on her wedding day wants to look her best.
Just beautiful. As you've seen, each costume of each region is unique. You can see the variety of embroidery techniques, fabrics used, ornaments and styles that showcase the talent and artistry of the women and girls who created them. These skills and creativity have been passed down throughout centuries, down to the current generation and into the future. Thank you so much, models. I hope you can hear me from here. You did a fantastic job, and we can't wait to see more.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. We're going to take another musical interlude. So please welcome back to the stage Stefania Romaniuk. She joined us once more to perform the sultry tango Huțulka Ksenia, and then Volodymyr Ivasyuk's classic hit Пісня буде поміж нас. Stefania Romaniuk.
Постать сніжно-біла, Гуцул Ксеню ніби знав. Він дивився в очі сині, тихо спершись на соснині, а слова ніжні любові він до неї промовляв. Гуцулко Ксеню, я тобі на світі про любов розкажу, душа страждає, звук трембіти лунає, а що серце кохає, бо гаряче, мов жар. Вже пройшло гаряче літо, Гуцулинчу любить скрито, а Гуцуку чорнобриву він в останню ніч прощав. В черемоші грали хвилі, сумували очі сині, тільки вітер на соснині сумно пісню вигравав. Гуцулко Ксеню, я тобі на трембіті, лиш одні в цілім світі розкажу про любов, душа страждає, звук трембіти лунає, а що серце кохає, бо гаряче, мов жар. Пролягла дорога від твоїх воріт до моїх воріт, як струна. То чому ж зумбився твій самотний слід? Знаю, я одна, я одна. Зимна осінь, що той слід листям не накрила, бо до тебе навесні я повернусь, милий. Мої руки ти візьмеш знову в свої руки, і не розквітне поміж нас жовтий квіт розлуки. Не ховай очей блакитний промінь, заспівай мені останній раз. Пісню ту візьму собі на спомин, пісня буде поміж нас. Бо твій голос щедра повінь, ти мов колос, лен колос нею повен. Жовтий лист спаде і виросте зелений, а ти в пісні будеш завжди біля мене. Як зійдуть сніги із гір потоками, ой глибокими навесні, забринить дорога та неспокоєм вдалині мені, вдалині. Зимна осінь осінь ще той слід листям не накрила, бо до тебе навесні я повернусь, милий. Мої руки ти візьмеш знову в свої руки, і не розквітне поміж нас жовтий квіт розлуки. Не ховай очей блакитний промінь, заспівай мені останній раз пісню ту візьму собі на спомин. Пісня буде поміж нас, бо твій голос, щедра повінь. Ти мов колос, колос нею повен, жовтий лист спадає, виростеш зелений, а ти в пісні будеш завжди біля мене.
Дякую to Stefania for such beautiful music. She made it seem so effortless. Now we head into the retro section of our fashion show, featuring handmade outfits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, lent to us from local women of the Ukrainian diaspora, taking then current clothing designs and embellishing them with Ukrainian embroidery patterns. These women wore these outfits with pride, and a lot of them we would wear today. There's some pretty stunning things coming down the stairs right now. We are so thankful for them, for sharing these pieces with us on the catwalk and on the featured mannequins tonight. We are opening the retro runway with a little summer sunshine as our three ladies in yellow walk the stage.
First up, it's Liana wearing a linen two-piece skirt suit and jacket from the 1970s. The geometric cross-stitch along the waist and cuffs originates from the Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast. In the center is Mara. She's wearing an above-the-knee dress, also from the 70s, and that detailed embroidery along the cuffs and waistline uses motifs typical of the Hutsul region of western Ukraine. And you can't miss the 70s dress worn by Natalia. Check out the floral embroidery along the front that accentuates that statement collar.
The Supremes are now taking the stage. We have Alla, Lauren, and Ariana walking the runway in these smart skirt and jacket sets from the 1960s and 70s. That eye-catching orange embroidery is another Hutsul-inspired design with the flowers and mallows worn by Alla and Lauren from the Bukovina region. And a cute note, Ariana is wearing a dress that was once her mom's. Get more of those ahs out. The adorable Maria is walking the runway in this pleated dress from the 60s. With its pleated skirt decorated with both running and cross-stitch, this dress emulates the national dress of the Lemkiv region. Alongside Maria, we have Ashlyn wearing a dress from the late 70s. Lean in close to see the fine floral embroidery along her collar and waist.
This cute little sailor top is worn by Sienna. From the 70s, pay close attention to the blue flowers embroidered on the collar. And accompanying her down the runway is Jacob. Up next, with Skylar, is Catherine, wearing a dress featuring the popular rosebud motifs found throughout eastern Ukraine in the Kyiv region. These red and black motifs were created using cross-stitch. Alyssa is wearing our second sailor collared top of the evening. This time it's embroidered with the iconic geometric motifs of the Hutsul region. And this is one of our oldest retro pieces. It's made in the 1950s. And beside Alyssa is Daria. She's showing off the bright red cross-stitch rose motif from the Kyiv Oblast. Kyiv Oblast is known for its botanical symbols, with roses among the most popular.
Embroidery of eastern Ukraine. With its diamond motifs, the calf-length dress worn by Svetlana is cross-stitched in the style of Dnipropetrovsk region, while the knee-length dress showcased by Alexis features a floral embroidery along the sleeve cuffs. Certainly stands out. This is Miroslava, showing off a faux wrap cocktail dress in a very unique green. Check out the yellow and brown embroidered design traveling down the model's left side and on her cuffs. She's accompanied on the runway by Zane. That iconic 50s silhouette is on full display in this next dress, worn by Annika alongside Ethan. From 1951, this silk dress shows off the delicate embroidery down the skirt front and around the collar.
This 1970s burgundy dress is modeled by Michelle, with a cross-stitched mallow motif embroidered along its collar and cuffs. Beside her on the runway is Nick. Coming down the runway are some classic little black dresses. We have Daria showing off the beaded belt of this sleeveless number from 1989. And Christine is looking chic in a backless dress from 1977. Check out that beaded embroidery along the collar.
Jacob is coming down the runway with Lauren, who's showing off a two-piece skirt and jacket set from the 1970s. The floral embroidery stands out on the burgundy fabric, decorating the hems of both the skirt and jacket. Skylar is with Alita as she shows off this 70s pantsuit, which was store-bought and then hand-embroidered by the owner, who decorated the hems of the suit and pant cuffs with red, white, and yellow thread. Just a showstopper, this 60s skirt suit, modeled by Ariana, features a unique placement of embroidery along the back of the jacket. As Zane walks with her down the runway, check out that golden stitching on her jacket, which was done with satin stitch, cutwork, and embroidery.
Up next are Alla and Bogdan, showing off a wool gown from the 70s. Look out for that traditional Nizinka stitch from the Ivano-Frankivsk region, done with gray thread along the dress hem and front collar. Coming down the runway is Liana in a satin evening gown from the 1980s. This blue cross stitch is emulating the Nizinka embroidery style of Western Ukraine, typically done with black thread. And Mara is beside her modeling a satin graduation gown from the late 1970s. The embroidery is the artist's own design, created to look like a vinok of cranberries with blue branches in between.
Ethan is with Sienna, walking down the runway as Sienna models a dress worn for Vikovina Choir's accompanist in 1984. The embroidery along the front stands out brightly against the burgundy fabric. The black fabric of these next two outfits makes the embroidery just pop. Annika is modeling this sleeveless evening gown from 1983, showcasing orange cross-stitch in the Sokalski style from the Liev district. And we have Alyssa wearing the two-piece skirt suit from the late 80s. Pay attention to the skirt and check out the poppies and other flowers embroidered on the left side. Looking bright and fresh in a green gown, Alita is showing off a unique halter collared gown that's been embroidered with golden grape bunches.
Nick is coming down the runway next with Irina, who's showing off this evening gown from the 1970s. It was cross-stitched in the Sokalska style of the Lviv region. Normally this pattern is done in black, but here you can see the blue and yellow thread chosen by the artist. Here's Christine showcasing a black gown. Check out that delicate floral embroidery done with gold thread. She's accompanied on the runway by Jacob. Next three ladies are dressed up in white. We have Natalia wearing a satin gown from the 1960s with a Grecian flair. The embroidery design is typical of the Kyiv region, though usually done in red and black instead of blue. Ashlyn is wearing a one-shoulder gown from 1968 that has an embroidered clutch to match, showcasing that classic red and black floral embroidery design. And here's Daria in an evening gown with a unique dress design. Check out that beautiful design as she puts her arm out to show that left side. That pattern is authentic to the original design from Lviv, right down to the thread colors.
Catherine down the runway now, showing off the embroidery along the front of this evening gown. Make note of the mix of floral and geometric designs used to make this pattern look so detailed. Coming down the runway with Zane looking warm and toasty in these wool coats from the 1980s. Check out the patterns down the front of each coat, done with different shades of leather to create the patterns you'd normally see in embroidery. Michelle and Daria coming down the runway in their Keptar jackets. Michelle's jacket is decorated with leather trim, but both of these Keptars also showcase some beautiful embroidery against the dark wool. And check out the pom-poms.
Alexis and Mara are ready for the colder weather in these wool coats. Alexis's mauve coat makes a statement in its bright wool and purple leather trim, created by designer Teresa Majewska from Kyiv in the late 1980s. The wavy pattern of the leather trim on Mara's jacket has her looking fashionable and warm, with a touch of red along the seams to finish the look. And our retro collection is rounded off with Jacob and Nick wearing these 70s suede jackets lined with sheep's wool. Besides the fur lining, both coats are also decorated with embroidered flowers on the front pockets.
Thank you, models and creators, for these beautiful pieces. Let's give them one last round of applause. Now we're going to have a brief intermission, so be sure to head down the hallway to check out our mannequins before we view the stunning Fall 2021 collection of Ukraine's Olena Romanova. We'll see you back in your seats in 15 minutes, and just a reminder, please keep your mask on at all times. We are so excited to have you here this evening so you can witness the fall collection of Olena Romanova. Sadly, due to COVID, like so many millions of people around the world, because of COVID restricting her travel, she is unable to join us tonight. We feel extra special that she is unveiling her newest clothing line with us here in Edmonton. This is a big deal. Olena is based in her own studio in Lviv, in Western Ukraine and has been designing Ukrainian-themed contemporary clothing for many years. A graduate from the Academy of Light Industry of Ukraine, Olena is also a member of the Ukrainian Designers Association. She is the winner of Looking to the Future, the first national contest for young designers. She works with all types of textile materials, leather and fur, and is known to design for stars of music and stage in Ukraine and beyond.
On the models, you will also see accessories created with a felting technique by Natalia Yashnikova, who was born and raised in Kyiv. She developed her technique over several years and then began teaching and collaborating with Kyiv designers to create fashion clothing. Natalia and her family immigrated to Canada in 2015, and she continues to create beautiful felted fashion accessories. Both Olena's and Natalia's beautiful works will be on sale at the Alberta Council for the Ukrainian Arts Marketplace starting tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Our models are ready and excited. Without further ado, the Olena Romanova Fall 2021 collection.
Дихати, хотіти. Я припиняти. Розмова.
Все знає про безліч протиріч, місто ніколи не засинає, на мене чекає, і знає з усіх облич.
Небо, то й не моє небо. весна, прийде весна, 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 весна. Всесвіту пронозливий, відкрий правди трішечки, чи мене не вистачить, загинув ти по весні.
Весна, моя весна, мене взяла весна, тобі дала вона. Мені дала весна, таке дала весна. Іди сюди, моя весна.
пиляла цілий день мене пиляла, і я спокій втрачав. Я на тебе кричав, як орлянку тривав, як собака гарчав. Ну скільки вже можна мені тебе вчити? Ти дай мені трошечки перепочити. Ти не зіскати, ти піди погуляти. Людей подивитись, себе показати. Погуляла, покружляла, погуляла, покружляла. Людей подивилась, себе показала. Погуляла, покружляла, погуляла, покружляла. Та до мене назад не оглоблі вертала. Я не ту кохав, не ті слова, я говорив. Ні, я не ту чекав, не ту теплом своїм зігрів. Не ту теплом. Ніч, ніч осліпила нас, блакитний снів, жаданами. Ні, я не ті молився, любов украла ніч. Любов украла ніч.
Знаю я, на долині кохання нема. Знаю я, тільки в горах, де знайти джерело, що спитати вогня. Знаю я. Знаю, що буде, і знаю, що ні. Най це знання не зашкодить мені. Стежка у горі тікає моя, там буде сонце і там буду я. Ти не знаєш, як вітер співає для нас. Ти не знаєш вогня, як на землю згори подивитись хоч раз. Знаю я. Знаю, що буде, і знаю, що ні. Най це знання не зашкодить мені. Стежка у горі тікає моя, там буде сонце і там буду я. Несе кохання течія, та уранці сонцем втікну я. Я не зможу забути ні вітру, ні гір. Знаю я, там, де сині вершини торкаються зір, буде доля моя. Я не зможу забути ні вітру, ні гір. Знаю я. Там, де сині вершини торкаються зір, серце лишу своє.
Чуже село, сюди повернуся, туди повернуся, видно чуже село, сюди повернуся, туди повернуся, видно чуже село. Мамцю ж моя мамцю, за кого м'ята є? Він не буде бити, не буде любити, щоб
Подивися, твій самотній слід, знаєш, ти одна, ти одна.
Зима осінь ще десь літо листям не накрила, бо до тебе навесні я повернусь мила. Твої руки я візьму знову в свої руки, не розквітне поміж нас жовтий квіт розквіти.
Як зійдуть сніги, звір потоками, ой, глибокими навесні. Запринить дорога та неспокоєм вдалині, мені вдалині.
Зима осінь ще десь літо листям не накрила, бо до тебе навесні я повернусь мила. Твої руки я візьму знову в свої руки, не розквітне поміж нас жовтий квіт розлуки.
Не ховай очей блакитний промінь, заспівай мені в останній раз. Візьму собі на спомин, пісня буде поміж нас. Бо твій голос щедра повінь, я навколо зелен колоснею повен. Жовтий лист паде і виросте зелений, а ти пісні будеш завжди біля мене.
Чорне море, гарне море, гарне море. Чорне море, гарне море, а все єдно Чорна гора, неня моя Чорна гора. Гей, 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 ніхто не зна, гей, гей, де сховався місяць не зна, гей. Гей, стріляй, моя рушениця, щоб почула моя киця, неня моя Чорна гора. Гей, 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 стріляй, моя рушениця, щоб почула молодиця, неня моя Чорна гора. Гей, 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 чекай, куме, гей, гей, курнєва куме,